Before 4 o'clock on the morning of August 1st, 1993, Paul Denyer began his confession to the murders of Elizabeth Stevens, Debbie Freem, and Natalie Russell. He told them at around 7 p.m. on the bleak, rainy evening of June 11th, Elizabeth Stevens got off a bus on Cranbourne Road in Langwarrin to walk the short distance to her home. Paul was waiting, not for Elizabeth in particular, but just
somebody,
anyone, yeah.
Ugh.
Just someone to kill. Elizabeth Stevens just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Paul followed her along the street in the dense rain and then grabbed her from behind, telling her that he had a gun and that if she screamed or tried to run away, he would kill her. Little did a piece of aluminium piping with like a wooden handle on it. So, she was not to know that. And obviously, if you're in that situation, you wouldn't believe that person that
was
definitely you 100% would.
Yeah.
But how fucking unfortunate that it wasn't. She probably could have got away with running, and he probably wouldn't have. God, fuck. This is when we're going to try and do a bit of Paul's accent. In Paul's statement to the police, he said, "Walked a bit in the bushland beside the main track in Lloyd Park. Sat there, stood in the bushes for a while, just, I can't remember, just standing there, I suppose. I held the gun to her back of her neck, walked across the track over towards the small sand hill or something. On the other side of that hill, she asked me if she could, go to the toilet, so to speak. So I respected her privacy. I turned around and everything while she did it, and when she finished, we just walked down towards where the goalposts were, and we turned right and headed towards the area where she was found. I got to the area there and I started choking her with my hands, and she passed out for a while. The oxygen cut off to her head and she just stopped. And then I pulled out the knife and stabbed her many times in her throat, and she was still alive. And then she stood up and we walked around and all that, just walking around a few steps. And then I threw her on the ground and stuck my foot over her neck to finish her off."
Fuck.
He does, and I know that sounds like I was being very unemotional and maybe reading those lines with the wrong emotion.
How he was saying it?
That's exactly how he was saying it.
Oh.
Ish. But yeah, because...
like I said, the Australian accent, by the way.
It wasn't the worst, but being British people, we probably aren't the best people to know. I'm sure an Australian person will tell me otherwise, definitely. But yeah, it sounds very strange for someone to be saying those words in such a way.
Yeah.
Why are there always sirens around here? Maybe that serial killer's coming to lower the housing prices.
Was it really loud?
That was uber loud. So Paul was describing very sort of matter-of-factly about what he had done, and he even demonstrated how he had pushed his thumb into Elizabeth's throat and strangled her. So he does a lot of sort of hand gestures as well, which is very graphic and gross. He does like a weird stabbing motion into the sort of demonstrates sort of how he would slash her throat and stuff. It's very very gross, but he also sort of, which I didn't see this part of the video I saw didn't have this, but apparently in the unedited interview he even starts to imitate her convulsions when she's suffocating, which is fucking gross. But it just seems like he's not doing it like in a comedy way. Like everything is just so, like, this is just so normal to him, so normal.
Fucking hell.
The next one is with Debbie Freem, and this sounds like the most like sort of horror movie scary. I mean, all this is like a fucking horror movie, but this is like really like fucking spooky, this one. So Paul said that while Debbie Freem was in the milk bar, he had opened the rear door to her car. He let himself into the back seat and closed the door behind him. He crouched in the back seat and listened as her footsteps came back to the car, and she got in and drove away.
Oh.
Paul had told Debbie in which direction to drive. He told her to drive to an area that he knew well and knew that he wouldn't be seen as he murdered her. He says that he showed her a piece of cord which he had, obviously to strangle her with, and he shouts at her, you know, "Can you see this? Can you see this cord?" And she puts up her hands to sort of grab it and to snatch it out of his hands, obviously in a panic, as you would, which he then pounces on her forwards with the cord and places it around her neck. He says that he was struggling with her for about 5 minutes, so it sounds like she also put up as much of a fight as she fucking could as well. Then when she was strangled, he took out his knife and then started to stab her in the neck and the chest. He said that was when she fell limp at his feet. He then took the knife and started stabbing her in the stomach as well.
What an absolute bastard.
Paul took Debbie's body into a clump of trees and then covered it with a couple of branches that he broke from the nearest tree. Again, he sort of disposes of her wallet and things as well. And in the documentary, for the first time again, he tells police that he can show them exactly where all this stuff's buried. And he takes them through this little fence thing with a hole that he's cut out in it. It's like a iron fence, like a cross wire fence. And then he takes them through, and there's a little patch of dirt, which is everywhere else is grass. There's a little patch of dirt, and he just starts kicking at the dirt. And the police are saying to him, like, you know, it's okay. I'm sure it's there. You're saying it's there. No problem. We'll come get someone out here to find it. But he's adamant that he's going to find it. Like, he's like, I'm sure it's here. I'm sure it's here. And he's proper kicking the shit out of the dirt, trying to find the...
Really?
Yeah. He sort of goes, like, a little bit... He has almost no emotion throughout all this thing, and he doesn't really have that much emotion when he's doing this, but his body language and the fierceness in which he's kicking the ground,
to get more aggressive.
Yeah, a little bit. His face doesn't say it, but his movement with his foot, he's really pounding the ground trying to find this purse that he's buried. When the detectives asked him, "Why did you kill her?" he replies, "Same reason why I killed Elizabeth Stevens. I just wanted to." So, before I mentioned to you that the final victim, Natalie Russell, I said that hers was possibly the most gruesome in terms of the things that had happened to her. Now, this has been described in his... it's him who said it, but I'm not going to do the fucking dumb voice for this one because, I don't want it to be even considered 1%. I just want to get the full effect of this. So I just want to tell. I'm just going to fucking tell this straight up as it is, because I don't even think I can actually put on a voice while describing this shit. So Natalie was the one who was walking along the bike track. Paul had actually been planning this particular abduction for a bit earlier on in the day, actually. So he'd actually done a lot of prep work for this. Again, not specifically for Natalie, but just for someone walking by.
In that area?
In that area, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
fuck.
So he'd seen this bike path thing, and he was like, I know, this will be a good place. So he sort of sets like a little trap thing for them. So you got a wire fence that runs from the bike track all the way to this ditch reserve thing. He cuts 3 separate holes in there, okay? Not too far apart.
Okay.
So at any stage, if he sees someone, he can be behind the wire fence, stalk them, watch them, and he has 3 separate chances to try and grab them and pull them through the fucking hole. How spooky! That you can just be literally walking along the street, and then some fucking weirdo jumps out of a hole and pulls you in. That's fucking horrible. So essentially this is what he does to Natalie. So she's walking along, he grabs her, pulls her through one of these holes and takes her down into the reserves. He takes a new homemade knife and a leather strap which he had on him as well. He says that he makes the first cut on her throat when he first initially grabs her. So I think it's like the second hole or something he gets to. So he doesn't grab her on the first one. She gets to that sort of second hole, and then he grabs her, puts his hand around her mouth, and then makes the first little cut. He says that this is the part where the cut on his thumb had happened, the cut on his finger, because he had accidentally cut his own finger as well. So Paul says that Natalie was struggling at first when he very first grabbed her, but she stopped when he told her that if she didn't, that he would cut her throat even more. The girl, Natalie, she actually is that much in a state of panic that she offers him sex. Because like we've said, in these situations, when we hear about these things, it usually tends to always revolve around some fucking pervert, sex pest, violent dickhead man. And obviously that's where her mind obviously went as well. This person's going to try and rape me. So she offers that to him. But Paul, obviously what we've learned before, that isn't what he's doing this for. In fact, he actually says that he's disgusted by the fact that Natalie even offered that, and he says that at the time it meant in his head he thought that was a sign of her showing her low morals. No, it is not a sign of you showing your low morals. If you're in a fucking situation like that and you think that might get you out of it, because she's obviously not going to be in a physical situation to physically defend herself. So you go, okay, what's the next thing I can use? Most men are fucking sex pest rapists. Not most men. Most serial killer men who pull people into fucking bushes are probably going to be rapist people. So let's do this. Apparently she says that you can have all my money, you can have sex with me, and he obviously wasn't interested in that in any way, shape or form. Paul told Natalie to kneel down in front of him, and he held the point of the knife close to her eye. He then forced her to lie on the ground, and he knelt over, holding her by the throat and still holding the point of the knife over her eye. When she struggled, he cut her across the face. She somehow managed to stand up and started to scream. She started to run slightly, but then obviously he sort of caught with her. She was obviously struggling. She didn't obviously run very far. She sort of stood up and sort of tried to run a little way and grabs her. He says that, all I want you to is shut up. He said he got her to kneel on the ground. He put the leather strap that he brought with him around her neck, but apparently it broke in half. So he must have been going some fucking force on her to break her leather strap in half.
Jesus Christ.
Again, she started struggling for about a minute until he pushed back. He pushed her over, and then that's when he cut her throat again. So to the police, Paul says that after this cut, which to him he says it was only a little small cut, he then sticks his fingers into the small cut in her throat.
Why?
And pushes his fingers deep inside of her throat, grabs her, what he says is her cords, and then he twists them. How fucking horrible does that sound?
Oh.
So he makes this tiny little cut and then forces enough of his fingers into her throat to pull. Ugh.
No.
Ugh, that poor girl.
He is fucking twisted.
That poor girl. That is probably one of the more horrific things.
You didn't mention she had died at this point either.
No.
Fuck.
No, she's not at this stage. I mean, so far he's tried to strangle her. He's done it so much that the straps broke, so he's not successfully strangled her. He's cut her a few times, which obviously is, but not deep enough to kill her. And then this one is where he just makes a little cut and then puts his fingers in. Fuck. I can't even imagine. No. I don't want to imagine. Fuck. What a fucking monster. So obviously, clearly he's going to get arrested for murder. Yep, 100% going to get arrested for murder. So the police ask him, why did you kill these women? What was the point? What did you gain from it? What was the reason for it? And Paul replies that he just hates them. The police officer says,
what, women or